Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share a scrapbooking process video with you. Now don't die of shock, I know it's been a while between videos and I promise I'm going to try and get some more video content out on a more regular basis. So here we go. Today I am sharing my process for a layout I created recently for the Kitaholic Kits Spring Fling Cyber Crop. Try saying that one 5 times with a few vodkas under your belt. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Now, for those who know me, you know that I am not always the greatest at following a sketch or following any kind of rules. I tend to go my own way or go rogue. And for this one, well, this one was no exception. So you might have seen in the sketch there that it's actually a 2-photo sketch that I was working with. It had 2 smaller photos on the right hand side and then a larger title / journaling block on the left hand side. And of course I decided to straight away turn that into a 3-photo page. Now you may have also seen in the sketch there that there was a large block of what appeared to be pattern paper down the centre of the page, and straight away I decided to turn that into paint. So you can see that I used my Montmartre Dimensions paint. I think the colour I used there was Payne's Grey. I love Payne's Grey. And I just used my little brayer just to roll some paint down the centre, and that was the basis of my mixed media page. Now I love using my brayer for acrylic paint because it goes on quite thin, it dries super fast, and there's no waiting around for it to dry. You can just continue on with your page. So the next step in my process, I wanted to start building some mixed media layers on the back of my page, and I really wanted something that was going to contrast and pop against the dark colour of that paint. So I used my Vicky Bouton gold glaze there and a stencil from Stencil Girl called Rembrandt's Words. Now this one is one of my favourite Stencil Girl stencils. It's just got this really loose scripty font. It's just beautiful. There's no real discernible words on this stencil. It's just background text, and that's what I like about it. It's nothing that will jump out. It looks like text on the background, but no words that will actually stick out and take over your page. So I just used a palette knife there and popped some of the glaze through the stencil, and then I actually cut out the drying time for you because nobody wants to watch paint or glaze dry. That's a bit boring. And then I'm getting into my layers that will then go over the top of my mixed media. So as you can see there, I've got the 2 smaller photos on the right hand side, and then I've got my larger photo on the left hand side. Now in the sketch there was actually the journal / title block that was in the sketch was actually a circular shaped one, and I still wanted to pull in that circular element into my page, which was why I grabbed a doily. Now I do tend to use doilies fairly often in my work. I love the texture they add to the page. I love the fact that I can often break up sort of the more blocky sort of square rectangular shapes, harder edges. They give a soft edge, and also because of the holes in them you can see the layers coming through, and I just like the depth that they give to the page. So I just popped in a little grey doily in behind my feature photo on my left hand side there, and I added some strips of pattern paper down the centre because there was a vertical element to the sketch as well. And then I decided to go in with my washi tape. Now you would have seen there that pencil case. It's full of small plastic rulers. These are 20 centimetre rulers. I think they're 20 centimetre rulers, 15 centimetre rulers. I can't remember off the top of my head. And that's the way I tend to store my washi that I keep at hand. So I get all of the rolls out and I roll out a few metres around these rulers. I keep it all in a pencil case, and then I keep all of the rolls in the cupboard. And as soon as I run out of one on the ruler, I'll just refill it from the one in the cupboard. And that way I don't have to have all of those rolls of washi tape in my Raskog next to my table, and it just takes up far less room. This is the way I usually transport my washies when I go to retreat as well, because it's much lighter on the packing, and let's face it, you don't generally tend to use more than, you know, a short length of washi tape at a time. So yeah, I just pulled out a few different washi tapes that I thought would work with the colour palette that I'd chosen. Now, the colour palette, as you can see, the photos were fairly neutral. They're of my daughter pulling a funny face. She had her grey beanie on. She had a grey hoodie on. Obviously, there's skin tone in the photo. So it was a fairly neutral photos, and I could have chosen any colour palette I wanted. I chose to work with the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Daydream collection because I am absolutely in love with this collection. Seriously, I cannot get enough of it. So I basically let the Daydream collection dictate my colour palette because I knew it would work with these photos. So I chose that soft pink watercolour style page. It's actually, no, it's pink, but it's sort of a peachy pink. It's really soft and beautiful. I chose that as the background for my page, and then I was using up just basically some scraps. I had pieces that I'd cut into for other projects, and I just thought I'll just use up whatever I have sitting on my desk. So I opted for that sort of dark indigo, navy blue paper there that's got the little feather print on it, just to back the photos and just to give it a bit of extra depth behind the photos and put some layers on there because I am all about the layers. So this is just me fussing around with the papers at the moment. Now that one I'm using there, that daisy print paper, which is so cute, that's not actually the 12 by 12 version of that paper. That one is from the 6 by 8 inch paper stack. And I had already cut a bit of that off for another project, so I didn't want to waste the sheet. Those 6 by 8 papers, I love the fact that they come as a stack now and not as a pad, because there is no pulling the pages out of the pad and then having the rest of the pad full. I just love the fact that I can pick them up and flick through them easily, and they're not joined together with any kind of adhesive, and I just think they're far more convenient. And once I take them out of the plastic packaging, I just put them all in a Ziploc style bag and keep them together like that. So yeah, fussing around with my papery layers here just to find some things that will help define the photos and pop them off the page. As you know, I tend to also put cardboard behind my photos, just a thin layer of scrap cardboard, which I get from, you know, my various pizza boxes and other delivery boxes. And I know other people like to use foam for this purpose, or you might use foam tape or pop dots or whatever you have, but cardboard works for me, and then it's environmentally friendly, right? So once I had the papery layers, it was all about moving on to the embellishments. I stuck with the Daydream collection. Yes, I had it on my desk and it was convenient, but I really wanted to work with it because I just love it. So I had tipped out the die cuts into that little container there and had a flick through them. And I actually pulled out this little circular frame because, again, I really wanted to emphasize the circular element that was in the sketch. I didn't want to lose it completely, even though I had decided to change it to another photo. So that was why I popped the little circular elements in behind the photo. Now it was really easy. Now it's just a matter of going through and embellishing my page. So I fiddled around with the die cuts. I chose this title, This is Life. If anyone has a teenage daughter, or mine is preteen, she's 12 at the moment and heading towards 13, and they have a mobile phone, you'll know that that pretty much is their life. They live on their phone, they live for social media, they live for that contact and connection with their friends, and sometimes when she's looking at her phone, I have trouble getting her attention. So that photo on the left there was the face she made at me the third time I said her name quite loudly and managed to get her to look up from the screen. So yes, this is life. That pretty much sums it up, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who will be able to relate to that. So around the photo, now you can see already I've covered up some of that background work. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about covering up the stuff on your background. It doesn't all have to be visible. So long as some of it's visible and you can see some of the layering work you've done, that's all that really matters. I sped this bit up a little bit because it's just a little bit boring for you, but you can see me fluffing around there with a bit of a sheet of gauze. which is another thing that I tend to use on most of my pages because I just love that it adds that soft textural element. It doesn't overwhelm the page and it just gives another layer. So I just cut a bit of that off, frayed it roughly with my fingers, and I'm going to put it in underneath my photo. You can see the cardboard on the back of my photo there. Always use a liquid adhesive for this stage. Gauze does not like tape. They're not friends, gauze and tape, not at all. So use a good liquid adhesive, a strong liquid adhesive. My preferred adhesive for that is the Helmer 450. It's clear, it's quick drying, and I like the fact that it's slightly thicker. It's easier to control where it goes. And yeah, as I said, I have never had anything fall off using my Helmer 450. So sticking the photos in place, I've now got the mixed media layers on the background. So I've got paint, I've got the Vicky Bouton glaze, I've got layers of paper, I've got frayed gauze, I've got my photos popped up with cardboard. So I'm really starting to build the layers up from the page. Now I'm going to embellish around the photo. I've got some die cuts from the Cocoa Vanilla Studio Daydream collection there, which I'm actually popping up with a little bit of foam tape because I just want them to sit up at the same height as the photos. I don't want it to be down too low, and I also want to sit it up from the background a bit as well. Now, my problem here was because I decided to turn the title / journaling block into a third photo, I then had to figure out where I was then going to put my title, and you can see that I've at this point completely strayed from the sketch. Let's face it, I have gone rogue, I've gone my own way, and I think you can still see the bones of the sketch there, and I do still have all of the main elements there, which is what I try to do when I work with a sketch. But when I create a page like this, once I start, it tends to take on a life of its own. It goes its own way. I can't control the process. It happens. My brain, my hands, my tools, my materials, they all just do what they want to do, and this is what comes out. So yeah, here I am still fluffing around with embellishments. I've got one of those super cute puffy fabric hearts from Cocoa Vanilla. I absolutely love these. Now, if you haven't seen these in person, you really need to see them in person, but they've got this beautiful, really fine gold thread detailing through them, which I knew would work well with the gold glaze I'd used on the background. And on the right-hand side there, I've just added a Charms Creations star. That one's got gold in the layer too, so I was really trying to tie that gold glaze in through a few elements, and you can see where the gold heart is down in the bottom left corner, and then I've got the star in the top right hand corner of the photos. Sort of gets that visual triangle going with the washi that I've used there with the gold heart print on it. And you know me, I'm all about creating that visual triangle around my photos. So on top of the star there, I'm just putting one of the flare buttons from the Daydream collection. I popped in a super cute little rainbow there, which I just tucked in behind because I love the rainbows in this collection. They are so, so sweet. So digging through there just to see, I really needed some more flowers on this layout. I needed to sort of create something else in that top left corner of the photos just to balance it out, because at this point it was quite heavy underneath the photos and obviously quite heavy on that right hand side with the stacked elements of the rainbow and the star and the flare button. So I really just needed to balance that out with a cluster on the left hand side. So I was layering the flowers. Again, I tucked some under the circular elements that I had there. I tucked some over the circular elements that I had there, and it just helps define those layers and give the page depth. Yeah, there I am, sticking away. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a drink. Okay, so tucking the photos in there. Now, at this point, I was getting fairly close to completion of my layer. I know it seems like this one's gone on forever, but I really don't know how to cut these process videos down too short. If I speed up my process too much, some people say they feel sick. Some people that say they can't see what I'm doing. I don't like to make people dizzy. I don't like to cut out too much of my process, and I just can't help it. This is the way that I scrap. That's the thing with mixed media, is because it is layer upon layer upon layer. Obviously, your process takes a bit longer. So I do apologize if the length of this video is too long for you. If you want to let me know in the comments what your preference is, let me know what your preference is. Do you prefer me to have a shorter video so you don't have to listen to me ramble on as much? Or do you prefer, I mean, obviously I would have to speed it up to do that, or are you quite happy to listen to me waffle on? Maybe I should have a few drinks before I do the voiceovers for these videos. I don't know. Okay, so I've just added on a butterfly there, and I'm pretty much done with the embellishments now. I've grabbed a roller stamp. I think that's a Dear Lizzie one, and I grabbed my Dove Grey Stays On ink and just sort of randomly stamped some phrases around the page. I just like the extra depth that this adds, a little bit more interest, something for people to read. And I just wanted to bring in a little bit more of the sort of dark colour as well, but not too dark that it overwhelmed what was going on in the layout, because obviously the photos there were quite light. So once I had the stamping done, I was looking at my page. I was thinking, oh, what else does it need? Is it messy enough? Is it messy enough? No, it's not messy enough. What do you think I'm going to do? Oh, there I go, doing my handwritten journaling. Again, I could have cut this out, but it was short and sweet. So now the first pen that I used was a grey pen. It didn't work properly. I probably should have cut that fail out, but we all have them, so I had to go over it with a black pen. Now, as I said, I was looking at it going, is this messy enough for me? Is it messy enough? No, it needs splatter. Of course it needs splatter. Everything needs splatter. So I just grabbed some black ink. That one is actually a Colour Blast by B. Arty Colour Artist ink, just in soot. I like how black this is. And again, I always use those kids small nylon brushes. I like the bristles on those. They give me super tiny little splatters, and it gives me really good control. So that is my preferred brush for splattering. I wasn't done. I went in with a tiny word, happy, which was actually a little bit of a sarcastic jab at her face in that photo there. And I think I was almost done. I stuck the word your into the title there as well. And that was pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Can you give me some ideas of what you'd prefer to see from me, whether you want me to do them faster, you're happy with this length? Just let me know. Happy for all your constructive feedback. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. There's the sketch again. Bye.